So we've been looking at how to begin to deal with conflict within a marriage. This is going to be one of the inevitable challenges that any couple will face. And learning the rules for how to engage in an argument, which we introduced in the last session, that you seek to understand before being understood, is the first step. In order to do that, you need to learn how to listen. And there's 3 types of listening that I want to introduce you to so that you're better able to begin to resolve conflict and to deepen your intimacy and to enrich your relationship with each other. The first type of listening that I want to introduce you to is called active listening. This is possibly the most well-known form of listening. It involves conveying to the person who's telling you something that they've been heard. It conveys that you understand what they're saying because you repeat back to them with expressions like this. So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is, or yes, so I understand that you're saying this. Now that gives the opportunity for the other person to say, no, that's not quite what I'm saying, and they can clarify what they're saying, because communication is not just what is said, it's what is heard. And so by putting it in a language that can be heard and understood, communication becomes more effective. That's the first type of listening, active listening. The other type of listening, the next level of listening, is called reactive listening. Now, reactive listening involves what you're doing with your body language. It involves your facial expressions. It involves the little verbal cues that you're giving someone as they are talking to you. So, for example, if I fold my arms and I go, give those kind of verbal cues. If I begin to look away and I'm not looking, I'm not being attentive with my eyes, that's a type of listening, and it's a poor type of listening. It's a reactive listening that's poor. What we're looking for in order to help the person that you want to deepen your relationship with is to give them positive reactive listening, and that involves giving them appropriate eye contact. It involves giving them facial cues where if they're telling you something that expresses their pain, that your facial expression doesn't look glad about that. Your facial expression looks to be moved, and so you can show concern as they express perhaps a hurt that they've experienced because of your relationship. And reactive listening also involves the body language, so not folding arms, not crossing legs, not turning side on, those kinds of things, but it involves being appropriate with your body language. It certainly involves not looking at your phone while they are talking to you. So if you get a message, if your phone goes off, it's going to be quite a statement for the other person who's telling you something if you just let it go, and if they say, do you need to get that? Say, no, this is more important. So that's reactive listening. And then the third type of listening is perhaps the most powerful type of listening. It's called responsive listening. Responsive listening is when the other person may say, look, I just need to talk to you about this. You leave your socks on the floor, whatever it is. And your responsive will determine whether they feel that whether they've actually been heard or not. Active listening would involve, so what you're saying is you don't want me to leave my dirty socks on the floor. Reactive listening will be not to be defensive, not to, but it's not a big deal, or to dismiss what they're saying. Reactive listening would be to show, okay, I'm hearing you, and I can hear, and we'll touch on this at the next level of communication, I can hear that this is actually a big deal for you. And you're giving them positive reactive listening. And then the responsive listening is, don't leave your socks on the floor. That's how they will know whether they've been heard or not. So those three types of listening are really, really important if you're going to argue well. At the end of that, when they feel that they've been heard, when they feel that you now understand, this will then give you the opportunity to ask for permission. And this is one of the other principles for having a healthy argument. Ask for permission to share your point of view. It might sound something like this. Do you mind if I tell you how I see it? Or it could be, could I share with you how I'm feeling? Could I tell you something that I'm not sure you want to hear? Now those questions are actually permission questions. We are all far more likely to listen to someone who asks for our permission before we just launch in. We all know what it's like to have someone come up and confront us and finger bone us in the chest and just, tell us the problem with you is. We're not likely to listen to someone who does that. But the person who says, can I ask you something, or do you mind if I just share with you how I see it? Now that comes after they feel understood. So this is an important sequential step in the process. So what do we take away from this? That listening is not an easy thing. None of us perhaps do it naturally. It takes work, it takes practice. If we're used to being defensive, that's a part of our reaction. That's not going to help in this process, and it's certainly not going to lead to the most intimate place you can get with someone in your relationship with them. So, active listening, reactive listening, and finally, responsive listening. You may feel that what the other person is saying is of no importance, it's inconsequential, but it's not about you, it's about them. It's about whether they feel validated and heard. Practice that. Try that in a pre-marriage session. I would actually give some homework for the couple to take away, and we would meet again in about a week or two, and they would report back how they've used these principles to begin to deal with issues. And the question I'm going to ask in a couple of weeks when they come back is, tell me what you've now learned that you didn't know about your partner, about the one that you're going to marry. We'll be back in the next session to talk about how we can go deeper in our relationship through learning how to communicate effectively. It's one of the more powerful forms of communication, and I trust that as you put into practice these listening techniques, you'll discover that just this on its own, if all you did was this before you got married, it's going to stand you in great stead.